tell me your story.
So do you want me to start by just saying my name, my age, and where I'm from?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, my name is Kiana Clay. I'm 24 years old and I'm from Corona, California. I grew up racing motocross since I was 7 years old, and I started out on a PW80. And I just kind of went trail riding, just messed around on the bike, and really just fell in love with the speed and the control of the throttle and just going really fast and, you know, giving my mom a heart attack when I could. So my dad saw how much I loved it and said, you know, why don't we actually start competing and just see what that world is like. So we started racing when I was about 11 years old, and we got really heavy into it. And then I was racing on a YZ85 at Freestone County Raceway on November 18, 2006. And I went over a finish line jump, and I got landed on by another rider, and his front wheel went right over my neck and broke my neck and severed my nerves, like on my right side. I was knocked out for about 7 minutes, and I woke up. The first thing that I saw was a paramedic that was standing over me, and I started moving all my fingers and my toes and everything, and I noticed that I couldn't feel my arm. And I started screaming, I can't feel my arm, I can't feel my arm. I just started freaking out, and then that's when the paramedic, his eyes got all wide and was like, all right, we gotta take you to the hospital. And he put me in a neck brace that I was in for about a good 6 months. And I couldn't move my neck. If I was to move it even just the slightest, I would have been instantly paralyzed from the neck down or probably dead. So my condition was pretty severe. And then about a few months later, me and my dad were driving down the freeway in a lifted truck. It was pretty high up, and we were driving down the freeway and we got hit by a drunk driver, and he nicked our back tire and we flipped a few times after that because I was apparently getting some bicep muscle back. And so after that wreck, I instantly lost again everything that I was gaining back, so it was like I was starting all over. And so the doctor said, you know, there's no chance of you getting anything back at this point, so you're just gonna have to accept the fact that it's paralyzed and, you know, do what you can with it, but you're never gonna ride again, you're never gonna snowboard again, you're never gonna surf again. So he was saying all these things I was never gonna be able to do, and that's like, man, that really sucks, because my heart and my soul was always in motocross and was always in racing and just being competitive and just going fast, because that's me, that's who I am, that's what I love. So I was off the bike for about 7 years. And in high school and middle school, I tried out for everything. I was in cross country, track, art, cheerleading. I really tried to get myself involved, even though I had one arm, and, you know, just tried to find a new identifier. What was going to make me happy? What was going to fill that void that I was now missing that I couldn't get back anytime that I wanted? So one of my buddies was like, hey, why don't we rig up a pit bike for you and try figuring out how to ride again so you could ride around the pits and just hang out with the crew, you know, give you something to do. I was like, yeah, I'm down for that. So we flipped the throttle over on a 110, a KX 110, and we flipped the throttle over and it rolled forward instead of just the regular side. So it rolled forward and I got on the bike and started revving. I was like, oh, this is weird. And so I was rolling it forward and then whiskeyed it the first time and almost went like right into a tree. And then I got the bike back up and sat down and got the feel of it for a little bit again and rode around the pits for about 5 minutes. I was like, all right, I'm feeling this. Went to the kids' track, started ripping around, got the feel for corners and jumps, and then by the end of the day, I was on the big track, going on these big jumps and rollers and just having the time of my life, and I didn't stop smiling the whole time. And so that led to my parents finding out that I was riding again. They were like, you know, this is what makes you happy. We're gonna set you up with all the right gear. We're gonna get you a bigger bike so you can fall into the corners nicer, it'll be good for your height. But the whole deal originally was that I wasn't gonna compete again. I was just gonna do it for fun. And so we got the CRF 150R that I have now, and started riding around, and then I was like, you know, I want to start competing. Like, I love racing, the adrenaline at the starting gate. Went out there, raced, and I didn't get last, so to me that was a good race, and I didn't crash, didn't hurt myself. And then during that phase of me competing, it was in 2015 where Motorsport Adaptive, they had a championship series for adaptive athletes. So people who had one leg, people who are in a wheelchair, people who have one arm, whether they have prosthetics or not. And they invited me out and they said, hey, you know, we see that you're racing. We've never had a female compete in the MSA championship before, so you'd be the first female to compete, and got third in the upper limb adaptive, which was pretty sick for the championship, and met some incredible people. And through that, I met a gentleman, Mike Schultz, who introduced me to adaptive action sports that are based in Colorado, which is an adaptive snowboarding team that helps military veterans or just anybody that's disabled that has a passion to snowboard. And so I got connected with them, and the owners are Amy Purdy and Daniel Gale, who just kind of took me under their wing and really helped me out with getting back on the snowboard and finding my balance again, because I've been snowboarding since I was 4. And so I got out there and started snowboarding, trained with them for a season or 2, and then that's when they said, you know, there's the Paralympics coming up, and the USA team has never had an upper limb adaptive female for the Paralympics, and there's not even a category for it yet. So I kind of looked at it as a really good opportunity to be like, yeah, I'm going to pave the way for future females in the Paralympics. That's pretty sick. So I'm going to be training with them now full time, and I start my first World Circuit Series in a few weeks. My first competition is going to be in Dubai, which I'm actually getting prepared for, and pre-season starts in a few weeks. So I'm really looking forward to what all of that's going to look like, but they're all international competitions. And then obviously my goal is to make the USA Paralympic team for snowboarding and pave the way for future females that have the upper limb disability and make that category happen. So it's going to be a fair competition, so upper limb females aren't going to be competing with, you know, one-legged amputees or something. So I'm really excited to see what the future holds on this and just start paving that way. So I was 12 when my wreck happened, which means I was at that really funky age for a girl, you know. I was starting to care about my appearance. I was starting to didn't think guys had cooties anymore, so I was starting to have crushes here and there. And I was also dominant in my right arm, and I'm an artist. I love art. I've always been really creative. I've always doodled, always painted, always created. So I spent 6 months in the hospital just like tracing over letters and just reteaching myself how to write. And then that led to teaching myself how to draw. And I started thinking, you know, how am I gonna do my makeup? How am I gonna do my hair? Are boys even gonna like me because I have one arm? So all these things started coming to my mind. And then I started thinking, man, down the road when I'm older, how am I even gonna be a mom? Because, you know, I wanna have kids someday and have a family. And I started thinking about what it's gonna be like to take care of kids with one arm, and if they're gonna get picked on because their mom had a disability. So all these thoughts were just kind of coming to my head. But that's when I just kind of had to tell myself, you know, I can sit here and think about how much my life sucks with one arm, or I can get out there and still be happy that I have 2 legs and I still have one arm, and I still have a heart that's beating, and I still have a brain that works perfectly. I really had to just pick myself up and say, you know, this is an excuse. This isn't gonna stop me from what I wanna do. If I wanna go ride a dirt bike, I'm gonna do that. If I wanna put my hair up with a doorknob, I'm gonna do that. If I'm gonna play Xbox with my feet, because I still like playing Call of Duty and MX vs. ATV, I'm gonna do that. So I figured out how to do everything, and you know, sometimes there's still challenges to this day that I deal with, but you can't think of the negative. There's always positives in the negative, and that's what I've found. With a brachial plexus injury, that means that I have absolutely no feeling in my right arm whatsoever. I also have atrophy, so I have no muscle in my arm. I have no strength because I don't use it, I can't move it. So I put it in a sling to keep it out of the way, which wraps around my body and just kind of holds it in place. And just, it keeps it out of the way for activities, especially with snowboarding and surfing and motocross. It just keeps it from flapping around just because I can't control it. So I put it in a sling for the most part, but around the house I leave it out of the sling and just let it do its thing, but that can still be dangerous. And even about 2 months ago, I actually broke it for the first time, and I didn't even know it was even broken. I just looked down and noticed that my wrist was not looking as anorexic as usual, and I showed my mom. I was like, I don't think this is normal. So then I went and got it checked out, and I had it fractured. Ironically enough, it's because I crashed riding at South Central Motocross Park in Texas and went face first into the face of a jump, and the way that my arm is folded in, the wrist bone kind of pops out a little bit, so that was the first brace of impact, so it fractured it just right. But with the fractures, and because I can't move it and have it heal faster or anything, I'm actually a lot more prone to infections. So I'm actually really considering the idea of amputating it just to have more possibilities with prosthetics, because, you know, technology is coming such a long way. I could be like Anakin Skywalker from Star Wars and have a robotic arm in 5 years if I wanted to, which would be pretty cool. So I've actually thought about amputating it, and I think it's gonna be a pretty good route. Because another thing that most people don't know that comes with paralysis is you have neuropathy pain. So 24/7, my arm feels like it's being electrocuted. And whenever I get sick and whenever I get stressed, it gets even worse to where it's unbearable and I'm screaming in my pillow and I can't sleep, can't eat, can't really function, can't work, can't do anything just because the pain is so bad and you can't control it. They've been trying to find a cure, but it's nerves. So with nerve injuries and nerve pain, there's just really nothing you can do. So you just got to deal with it. I mean, it sucks, but at the same time, I'm really humble for it. It makes me humble. It makes me realize that my situation could still be a lot worse. So it really keeps me grounded in who I am. But the pain sucks, which a lot of people don't understand or even really know about. So I think it's something that's good to make more of an awareness for. But other than that, it just kind of hangs out. It's a good souvenir of what happened before, and it's a good conversation starter. And most people, if I'm walking down the street, they don't even know my arm's paralyzed until I tell them. I don't like people treating me differently because I'm disabled. I like being treated the same, even just in racing, snowboarding, and competition. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people come up to me, they're like, yeah, you ride really good with one arm. I'm like, I like to ride good as like a normal, fully able rider, but that's cool too. I like to be treated as an equal. I don't like people knowing I'm disabled because then I get different treatment. Like people try to help me with things, which I'm very independent. I don't like help. And I like doing things on my own. So there's a lot of pros and cons to paralysis. There's fun things, but I think some of the funniest things is whenever I'm parked in handicap with my bike in the back and I get the rudest looks. They're like, you're not handicapped. I'm like, my arm's paralyzed. But then they're like, but you have a dirt bike in the back of your truck. I'm like, well, let me tell you about a story.